Hey guys, this is Miss Rachel, and we're going to get started today. We're going to be looking at this new PowerPoint, and I know this is our first time doing it with the video, but this is what it's going to look like. So this is my PowerPoint, just like what I would normally have you guys look at in a class setting, but now you're actually going to be looking at it in front of you on your screen. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today is citing evidence. And in order to cite evidence, we're going to be using different parts of the text. So I'm going to be showing you how to incorporate the text in your answer. Citing just means like to reference or to show, and then evidence is the proof or the examples, the things that prove your point. So we're going to be talking about how to cite evidence today. I'm going to show you how to use evidence to back up your positions and back up your statements. If you're going to say something about the text, you have to be able to prove it and give me examples from the text that shows me that you are actually correct in what you're citing and what you're saying. So remember, as we get started, I actually don't have that many slides for you today. It's just a few, but what I'm going to tell you is that I do want you to write everything down. So remember, just like when we're taking notes, I want you to copy it exactly. Your page matches my page. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is some examples and show you what citing evidence actually looks like. And then we'll move on from there. So this is our first one. This is the chart that I want you to write down in your notes. I would like you to use colors. So if you guys see how on the rows there's like purple, green, orange, pink, and blue, you guys can use any colors that you want as long as I can see that there's colors. So let's kind of look at this for a second. So it says prove it with text evidence. So the first box, it says, because the text states. Now that's a phrase that you can use that will help you cite evidence. So let's look at the example. It says, the puppy was very energetic. I know this because the text states. So let's pause right there for a second. We know that because the text states. So that person, the writer of that sentence, incorporated that phrase into their sentence, and they gave examples from the text. He was jumping all over the boy. Okay, the next one. For instance, in the text, there are many reasons why Mary liked to play the piano. That's the statement they're trying to prove. Then they go on to say, for instance, in the text, I found that she became lost in the music, which helped her remain calm. So if you can see they're incorporating those phrases, and if you use those phrases in your writing, it will help you naturally cite evidence. So let's look at the next one. The author stated. The party was a great success. I know this because the author stated that everyone was smiling and laughing. So the writer here is making a statement or a claim. It says the party was a great success. And they used the phrase the author stated, and they gave an example of what the author said. So that's their evidence from the text. The author stated something, that everyone was smiling and laughing. So that is an example from the text. They're referencing it here. They're using it to prove their point that the party actually was a great success. Let's look at this next one. Within the reading I found, many people are afraid of snakes. Within the reading, I found at least 4 people who are afraid of them, including 1 baby. So they're showing lots of examples here that will help support their proof. And the last one, in paragraph blank of the text, it says, so it is a long way to Africa from Chicago. I know this because in paragraph 16 of the text, it says that it is 4,262 miles. Takes 8.5 hours to get there. So this is exactly what I would be wanting you to do in your writing, taking these phrases and the colors and incorporating them and putting them in your paragraphs. And if you do that and you use them and you actually write them correctly, then this is a really easy and great way to cite your evidence whenever you're writing. Okay, so now what I'm going to give you the next couple slides is I'm going to give you some sentence frames. Now these are things that you can use in your writing, and yes, I want you to copy all of these down. So you may be making a list right now between the next couple slides on how to cite evidence. So these are all sentence frames. Like I said, you can use, I want you to use these and be copying them and using them in your writing. These are all phrases that you can use to cite text evidence. So you can say, according to the text, or the author of the text stated. In the text it states. The text explicitly states, that means very clearly. One example from the text is, on page blank it said, on page blank I noticed, from the reading I know that, based on what I read, based on the information in the text and for example. So if you were to use any of these phrases, that is really awesome. That's exactly what I want you to do when you're citing text, is use a phrase like that and then fill it in with your evidence. Same thing with here, just worry about the middle part, the yellow, how do you know? These are all really great ways that you can also use to cite evidence. So, for example, according to the text, in the text it said, on page blank, it said, from the reading I know that, the author wrote, based on what I read, for instance, to find my answer, I know this is the answer because first, next, then finally. So this is text and math. The text ones are obviously better than the math ones, but the math ones aren't that bad. Okay, and then this is the last one, textual evidence sentence starters, same thing. How do you know if you're going to say something or make a claim about the sentence? How do you know that? What parts of the text led you there? So, on page blank, it said, the author wrote, the graphic showed. This one is interesting because you can still use pictures and images from text. That's totally fine. You can totally reference that as evidence. There's like a pie graph or a chart or something, that totally counts. An example is, in the text it said, or I know because. So, make sure that you have everything written down from these slides. I know there's a lot of copying, but make sure you get all of these slides down in your composition book. Make sure you're using the colors and you have that good list of all the different sentence starters. Remember, these are the sentence starters that you are going to be using in your writing. That's why they're going in your comp book, for you to be able to reference them later and use these sentence frames in your writing. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. I'm sure I'm walking around right now. So, yeah, let me know if you need something. Make sure you feel good about this content because we're going to be using it in our writing very soon.